Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. And today we are going to have a discussion which is perhaps becoming more and more important in the coming years, primarily because connectivity is becoming the major platform, I would say, for innovation and the ability to do new business. And today I'm joined by a very distinguished panel, and thank you very much for joining me. So just a quick idea about what 5G entails really in terms of today's technologies and how things are evolving in the market today. So 5G is the fifth generation wireless technologies, and if we have seen the evolution right from 2G right up to 5G, we have seen that every generation of wireless technologies have brought in some major change. Right in 2G, for the first time, we could send SMS. 3G and 4G actually got us reliable internet on our phone. Reliable internet meant that new kinds of consumption models were introduced. A whole bunch of new companies which were outside the telecommunication industry, who had nothing to do with telecommunication industry, actually started to build their businesses around it. We could actually hail a car today, primarily because we knew that in real time we can track the vehicle, as well as we can pay without any worry as such that the payment will fail. So ecosystem development actually happened with connectivity being the backbone as a platform. And ecosystems get developed, new businesses gets developed, new business models gets developed because we are connecting people and machines together. And how would 5G be different? I mean, 5G perhaps from an internet speed standpoint wouldn't be very different. I mean, it will be different, but it won't really be perceived by humans. So 5G would actually try and create an ecosystem of machines connecting to machines, and that opens up perhaps a whole new technology domain, whole new industrial automation models, warehouses, logistics, ports, industrial manufacturing. But this also means that a much wider ecosystem needs to be developed. Ecosystems which would involve devices, independent software vendors, small and medium businesses, and that's perhaps the challenge. How do we create this ecosystem when machines and machines will communicate with each other? And who better than to talk about it are my two distinguished panelists. And just to give a few statistics, in India, 5G was started to be rolled out around 2022. We have 100 million smartphones, so as a country, we are well into the digital model, and that's only a way forward. However, how many industries are today connected onto 5G or wireless cellular connectivity is still a work in progress, and perhaps we will talk a bit about how to navigate that challenge. And to begin with, let me ask a question to Manoj. You see, one of the major challenges that we are seeing, or I would say a major opportunity as well, in 5G is that we are seeing a convergence of several technologies. So we have silicon, AI, connectivity, hyperscalers, applications coming in, right? So this convergence, what's your view on that? And how does this enable an ecosystem development in a country like India?
Thank you, Shamik, and namaste and hello, everyone. 5G has been for almost 2.5, 3 years. We have almost 250 networks globally running successfully. AI, again, I mean, a lot of hype now, but has been in existence for pretty long. Edge computing, again, part of 5G architecture. And silicon is always advancing. Every 2 years, I mean, Moore's law, the computation, I mean, we all know that. I think what is so different now is that the combination is actually at work now. So far, all these technologies were existing in isolation, developing, but it is at this moment of time that the combination is giving rise to a very, very potent possibilities in terms of use cases. So 5G gives you the advantage of mobile broadband and latency. AI brings in the insights. Latency advantages again coming from the edge computing and also the 5G technologies. So the combination at work leads to huge amount of use cases which we were only thinking in the sci-fi movies. And these use cases is what is actually making the world very exciting these days.
Absolutely, and these use cases are perhaps the main drivers for enterprises to adopt 5G or cellular connectivity in general. Kumar, what's your take on that?
Of course. Thank you, Shamik. Yeah, use cases is finally what drives technology adoption. You can take 4G, without the smartphone, so when Shamik outlined on 2G did SMS and good voice, 3G actually did email,
Yes.
BlackBerry, you might remember. But for Steve Jobs and smartphones, we would have been doing email with 4G because we didn't know anything when the 4G era came. So really, the smartphone plus, I think Shamik and I were chatting before, Google Maps and Facebook and WhatsApp. Though that creation, which had really nothing to do with 4G technology, is what changed, the whole our life. In fact, many of you don't know what is a pre-WhatsApp, a pre-smartphone life, right? So for 5G to do that, somebody else needs to do the innovation. So when we did 5G, we only did 4G plus, with all due respect to all people who created 5G, including Manoj and team, because we could only think in 4G. Right? So we said, okay, 4G, add another band, 3.5 gigahertz, make a smartphone which shows 5G instead of 4G, because we are not the application guys, right? So 5G will take off when your car has a SIM and can be driven home, that you come here and you want to send the car home to your spouse or kids, and if it can be driven back with a network that guides it with the 5G. So a 5G network has to be set up. So I think a lot of, I can talk a lot on this, but really some innovation has to happen outside, and it has to happen for machines, as Shamik and Manoj said. Why? Because we are limited. We're only 6-7 billion people. All of us have cell phones. We do everything we want. You can get HD on your phone. We don't want anything bigger. Nobody wants to watch on a big screen because you don't want to know what you're watching, right? Nobody else should know. So we all are happy with our smartphone. It has got retinal quality HD. So we are done catering to human beings. So the next thing left is to cater to machines, and that's somebody else has to innovate. A simple example is you set up an infrastructure for cars to drive on the road, which will guide the cars, and that's how self-driving will take up, right? Because seeing the road and like humans, that's not a good way to think. Cars have to be driven like planes. Like plane just goes. Plane can drive itself pretty much. The pilot is redundant. So cars have to get there. You have to set up a pathway. So like that, you can operate farm machinery, or you can operate bulldozers. But all that requires innovation somewhere else. So once that happens, 5G will take off.
Yeah, that's a great take on how mobile connectivity would evolve. And of course, having said that, what Kumar was alluding to is that the consumption model is critical, because prior to the smartphones and the fact that somebody in Apple decided that it would be a large screen and we could touch it, and we didn't know how to consume internet. Otherwise, as Kumar mentioned, we might still be using emails. So the consumption model is critical. How internet is going to be consumed in new devices like MRI machines, conveyor belts, cameras, and others are critical, because that's how the features of 5G or features of wireless cellular connectivity will evolve. And maybe to continue with you, Kumar, what about the India-centric ecosystems? Like we, of course, have seen in 4G that the developer community, independent software vendors who are developing software, they actually made the maximum usage, or they reap the maximum benefits out of cellular connectivity. There are startups and also nascent device companies, device makers. So what's your take about how the India ecosystem is developing in order to grab the opportunity provided by 5G?
Yeah. So, India has always done a lot of the high-tech engineering for all companies. Nokia, Manoj is here. I mean, every company does, engineering here and software, IBM, name it, right? But I think India wanted to do a little bit more, especially with the Chinese, have fights with the Chinese and China's position in the whole world. India said, why don't we step up and take their position? So India is now saying, okay, we will do everything. We welcome Nokia and Ericsson, but we'd also like to develop our own companies, right? To headquartered here and giving Nokia and Ericsson a fight in India and worldwide. So that's where India is going now. Friends, but competitors. And so, so we made a beginning. I'm now a part of the Tata Group. We're a bunch of startups doing some little pieces of 5G, 4G technology really earlier. And 4G and 5G sort of merged now. So the government said, why don't you guys step up and sort of build a full network, which is 4G and 5G. And so, my partners TCS and CDOT, we got together with Tejas. Now we are a Tata company. We're building a 4G and 5G network to roll out 100,000 sites, as is the press. And the goal is, this will develop further. Not only us, anybody likes to have multiple ecosystems, even in India. So I think for 5G, other ecosystems are starting on similar lines with CDOT and startups. I think one is centered around Bangalore startups, one around Gurgaon. So the goal is to try and replace Huawei and ZTE so that we can carve out some share from Nokia and Ericsson. Okay, so that's what it is.
That's a good point. Apart from, of course, the network equipment provider or the product vendors there's also a bunch of companies who have started to use 5G as an application. So basically treat 5G as a network or a platform rather. And in Capgemini, we are working with several operators globally where we are rolling out and implementing 5G for industries including aerospace, sports, logistics, and warehouses. And we are able to actually leverage a lot of local companies who are developing applications for industrial automations, which actually is changing the way large manufacturers or large port owners are looking at their business. I mean, primarily they got equipment and products and software from large industrial automation companies, but now they're able to look at an alternative provided by local vendors who are leveraging sandboxes provided by operators in different locations. And this is working pretty well in some parts of Europe, as where we are quite heavily involved. So coming to you and taking this forward with you, Manoj, so beyond the network itself, Nokia is quite heavily involved in enabling this application ecosystem as well. Would you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. So Nokia collaborates a lot with the competition and with all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, be it industry, be it media, be it device vendors. Because at the end of the day, a very mature ecosystem will lead to market validation of your concept. That's number one. The second advantage would be that it leads to accelerated innovation, which is what we want, right? So it brings the best of all the stakeholders, and that's what the advantage of ecosystem is. So we have been participating, Nokia is actually participating in almost more than 300 forums globally, including India. So we are big in TSDSI, we are there in Open RAN forums, we are there in DOT forums. In fact, when these 6G task forces were made, Nokia was very active in 3 way back in 2021. So we've been active in all the local and in all the global forums because we believe in the innovation and we expect that the best should come out. That's how it's going to help the technology world.
Absolutely. And one concern I keep hearing wherever I go is that, is 5G going to add to our sustainability challenges? Would it be actually contributing more to the carbon footprint? Or is 5G actually going to reduce that? I mean, typically it's known statistic that 70% of operators' carbon footprint actually come from the wireless access side. And would 5G actually make it worse, or would it improve the situation? Manoj, what's your view on that?
Great point. So whenever you have a new generation of technology coming in, it is expected to be more efficient, more productive, more efficiencies, right? But all this is happening at the product level. Now at the network level, we also have to be cognizant of the fact that the volume of traffic is also growing by X factor, right? 5X, 10X. From 5G to 6G, it's supposed to, we did that Nokia Bell Labs study. We figured out that 20X is going to be the quantum of traffic which is going to increase. Then we are talking about the densification of the network. So while at the product level, your power consumption, thanks to the chips technologies, thanks to the AI-based features, all the advancements, the product consumption is coming down. But at the network level, the consumption is still skyrocketing. And that's what actually 5G and 6G strive to do. So 6G, for example, has taken a very ambitious target that at the network level, from the 5G as a baseline, despite the fact that 10 times the traffic is increasing, I'll reduce the overall network consumption by half. So that's the target so sustainability is big.
That's a great point. Kumar?
Yeah, I think I was going to say the same thing. I think we cannot compare apples and oranges, right? If network traffic grows, so you need to measure energy consumption in bits per joule. I think that's something that 6G has introduced, which was not quantified earlier. And actually speaking, 4G and 5G, because it's pretty much the same technology, increase the energy consumption of the base stations. If you buy equipment, if you're paying the power bill for the base station, you will see that it consumes a lot more than 2G and 3G, disproportionately more to the capacity because of the underlying technology, FDM and so on, right? So the amplifiers are not very efficient. I think in 6G, hopefully we'll take a fresh look at this problem and design it grounds up to consume less energy. And there's a measurement, like your refrigerator. We're going to do bits per joule so that nobody argues that it's an unfair comparison. So this is an explicit goal in 6G. It was not in 5G. For those of you who have seen the triangle in 5G, we didn't meet any of the other two bases of the triangle, but there was no energy consumption target or as a goal. In 6G there is, so hopefully we'll do something better.
Yes, I mean, that's a very good point. And also perhaps densification of the network may or may not contribute to a further decline in energy consumption, because also introduction of small cells to cover more, to provide better coverage could also have an impact on the sustainability. So I think the sustainability aspects about wireless technologies is pretty much work in progress, but there are also techniques that I'm sure Nokia and Tejas are working on, is to actually look at the capacity in the network and try and optimize the network when things are not so heavy. And in Capgemini, we started an ecosystem called Project Bose, named after Jagadish Chandra Bose, where we are trying to actually see whether some kind of data-driven models can help in increasing or improving the sustainability aspects about 5G technologies. But then Kumar did allude to something around 6G, which of course, now that might sound a little bit too futuristic, but it's not very far away. Many companies have started to work on 6G as well, and as Capgemini, we started a research lab in Gurgaon, focused primarily on mesh networks and how industrial mesh networks would evolve in wireless connectivity, particularly with 6G. But Nokia did an announcement around the 6G research lab, and which was recently announced. So Manoj, what's the target with that particular lab, and how does it going to help the India ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks, Shamik. So yes, the lab got inaugurated on 5th of October by the Honorable Minister of Communication, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav. So, so far, India has been consumer of the technology. When 5G came, as vendor or as the India sales entity, I never thought that, we have to develop 5G. 5G came, we went to the customers, we sold the technology, and, this is exactly the way it happened for 4G, 3G, and previous generations. But moment we talked about 6G, before the 5G auction happened, and before we could even roll out 5G, India was already talking about 6G. 2021 is when the government of India formed the task forces. That actually meant that we wanted to lead the show this time. So that was the starking difference which everyone observed, and which culminated into the 6G vision already in 2023 by the Prime Minister in March. And it's here, and Nokia Bangalore location, by the way, is the biggest location for Nokia globally. So India alone, Bangalore facility, for example, has more than 8,000. We do R&D for mobile, IP, optical, all the technology. So we are committed to India ever since. And this lab particularly is going to do research on the future 6G foundational technologies. It could be network behaving like a sensor. This is again a great potential technology for a country like India, which has got huge expense. And without the need of sensors, we can actually run a lot of use cases related to road safety, rail safety, health monitoring for senior citizens, for the rural population, so on and so forth. So we are committed, and we decided to carry on the research right in the beginning.
Fantastic, and I don't think the India centricity needs to be emphasized for Kumar. But yeah, Kumar, what about 6G or 5G, advanced 5G and beyond? I mean, it's not necessarily just 6G.
Yeah, so it's 5G and beyond is a better way to put it, because we'll call it 6G, because why not? So, we are the leading consumers of 4G and 5G, okay? And we tried, TSDSI, Nokia is also a member, to say we'll drive standards from India. Nothing much happened in 4G, a little bit happened in 5G. But in 6G, we want to do a lot more. And in addition to the standards body, which is SDO, by the way, TSDSI is a organization partner of 3GPP. So as soon as we formed, we were admitted along with HC, and so along with Europe, America, Japan, China, and Korea, we were the 6th country. So we've also now recently formed a Bharat 6G Alliance to bring together smaller companies, startups, and so on, who want to contribute to 6G, and who may not have the wherewithal to participate globally. So that's something we're doing. And in 6G, they put 6 pillars, naturally, it rhymes with the 6. And one of the things that we argued a lot in ITU was that we wanted something which is India-centric, and we put ubiquitous connectivity. So the ubiquitous connectivity goal of 6G is actually driven by India on the floor of ITU. Actually, my team member Jishnu did that in ITU, and so that's something we want to drive globally, and we feel it's important for other countries like India, which are not saturated with mobile connectivity. Though we have 100 million phones, there are parts of India which don't have any connectivity. So we're trying to, and for us, connectivity has become central for everybody, because you have to get your OTP, you have to get your applications, right, bank accounts. So we've become very digital as a country. So without universal connectivity, all citizens cannot benefit. In fact, might not even be able to operate, right? So ubiquitous connectivity is a goal that India will drive along with the other pillars, so sustainability, IML, and so on. So that's how India is approaching it, and we don't want to get late to the party, so we said we'll be the first.
Absolutely. In conclusion, then I would like to take your views, both of yours, on the development of the 5G and beyond, not just 5G, but maybe 5G and beyond, the development of an ecosystem. How do you see India contributing to the ecosystem development of 5G? How are your companies bringing in different other companies together? You already alluded to that. And of course, more importantly, what is your view of where wireless cellular connectivity would be, say, 5 years from now? So starting with you, Manoj.
Yeah. 5G is already now the established technology, and the adoption of 5G has been actually faster than 4G. There has been a lot of discussion on the monetization, use cases, etc. But I'll give you a very one example, which is Nokia Chennai factory. We actually have a 5G use case being driven for the past 2-3 years successfully. We are doing that already. We have done huge amount of digitalization, and we are already reaping the benefit. In terms of warehouse management, we actually have 12 assembly lines running successfully. And all the assembly lines, we have 70 robots, we have all the advanced applications, video inspections, etc. And we are already getting the efficiencies right here. So here comes the biggest proof of the pudding in the country. And just to conclude on the sustainability, the fact that we have all these digitalizations and all the new advanced technologies, we are already Nokia Chennai factory is already 77% green. And we have the target to make it 100% green in the next 3 years.
That's a fantastic vision. Kumar?
Yeah. So let me take a risky thing and say where, how your life may change due to 5G advanced or 6G. Okay. So one thing I think that will come soon in 5G advanced itself will be much better location. See, right now, you cannot be located in your room, in your flat, okay? And that will change, and that may change a lot of things. For example, you can get medical help to you immediately. Right now, that won't happen, right? You can only be located roughly in your apartment complex. I think that's sort of an immediate thing that will happen. The next thing that will happen is we'll actually get connectivity to machines, maybe starting with cars and other things. And you will get services where you can program the network. So I think Nokia is also big on this. See, Android phones, applications of mobile phones took off once app developers could write on Android or iOS. We need app developers to be able to write apps on the network. So for example, if a hospital has to send an ambulance to your home, it has to navigate through a whole bunch of networks. It has to control the ambulance and get it through, and at the same time get whatever tests and so on, right? So the whole network, somebody should be able to write apps on the network. I think without that, use cases will not take off, and that's the second thing that should happen in a few years, probably in 5G advanced. And real value of 6G will be that it will combine radar technology, right? So right now you can only locate objects which have a SIM or a phone, right? But what you want to really do is locate passive objects, buildings, cars, lampposts, whatever, something that has a SIM. Car could have a SIM, right? And that integration of essentially radar technology with mobile technology, because it's the same tower, and that will give you a much better feel for the environment, is I think first time you can see something different in 6G. So I think that's where
Yeah, that's a very good point. Actually, the network as a sensor is pretty much the thing to look up to for in 6G. But one major thing that Kumar did allude to is about the network being treated as a development platform for developers. I mean, that's critical for eventual adoption of 5G or 6G. Application developers will have to get access to the network. They should be able to leverage the information coming out of network so that they can build more richer applications. I mean, it sounds hard, but it's not really. I mean, who thought that people would leverage network, fast, reliable internet to build fintech applications? So it's not really science fiction. And we are able to see in public safety, in transportation, in autonomous vehicles, how application developers are actually using the network information to provide more secure, safe, and perhaps richer services. So having said that, we are a couple of minutes away. So a very quick takeaways. I mean, one of the major things that we did talk about is that the 5G wireless traction and the rollout is accelerating in India, and the ecosystem development is rapid. What was perhaps limited to a few network equipment providers, now it's grown much beyond that. Not just vendors, but also application companies, software companies, digital ecosystems have grown rapidly. And finally, India is looking forward to be one of the leading entities when it comes to 5G and beyond, particularly 6G research, and companies like Tejas and Nokia are going to enable that. And we have a minute and a half, so maybe we'll take one question. So anybody from the audience, you want to take a question there? Yeah, I think I saw the hand there first. Yeah.
Hello, this is Raghavan from Renault. So I've been using Wi-Fi in my house. Obviously, all of us users. So we all know that it provides two networks. One is normal and one is 5G. So my mother uses a normal network, although our mobile is compatible with 5G. So when I ask her, she just replies that I could see Hotstar in my normal network itself. There is no use of 5G. So we all know that 5G and evolvement of 5G to 6G is really important in our industry and for advanced gadgets and use of any machines. So my question is, will it be useful for the common people in our day-to-day life?
Kumar, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So first, the 5G in your Wi-Fi just says you're doing the 5 gigahertz band for 5G as opposed to 2.4 gigahertz. So it has really no connection with the cellular 5G. But point taken, the cellular 5G today, which operates mostly in the 3.5 gigahertz band to make any difference, provides you a lot more capacity if you're close enough to the base station. So in that sense, 5G is giving you more capacity to do more Hotstar or whatever, than 4G could do. So if a lot more people, the next 100 million people start doing Hotstar, they need more capacity, and that's what 5G provides. I agree there are no truly new applications that 5G has enabled, just better 4G. But hopefully that will happen in 6G. And as I said, that's not dependent on us. It's dependent on some other smart guys, kids coming out of college. I saw some of them here who figure out how to take advantage of something new. Okay, so the onus is on you. You are a young man, and your generation to make that happen.
I like to that.
Yeah, go on.
I think what it brings is also the mobility. So if your mom is watching and she loses the Wi-Fi coverage, the user experience will get impacted, which will never be the case in 5G. It's all there, ubiquitous. So the continuity of service, the quality of service, and the second point is the security. I think that's again what 5G will provide compared to, say, other technologies like Wi-Fi, etc. So consistency of service, mobility, and security.
Thank you, Kumar. Thank you, Manoj, for this. And thank you very much for hearing us out. Thank you.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASSCOM YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.